What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York at the St. Vitus Basement, and today we are here with Devin of Sanguisugabogg. Great to be able to talk with you today, man.
Hell yeah, Alex. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Rehearsing that name for the last 2 weeks definitely paid off, I would say, right?
Yeah, you got it down.
Awesome.
You pronounce it better than me.
Hell yeah. It's so awesome to have you here. Thank you for delivering some of the greatest brutality that we definitely needed to wait out these dire times with Tortured Whole is out now. Being that this was the debut Sanguisugabogg full-length album, was there kind of like a preconceived idea of what you wanted this album to sound like, or was there a lot of like trial and error and just kind of like winging it in a way?
I would say, for the most part, some of the songs that we included on Tortured Whole were songs that we had written shortly after we did our EP the year prior. Some of those songs, too, we just kind of were brought up at the table shortly before recording, so I guess kind of winging it in a way as well. Like at that time with our lineup and stuff that we had at that time, that's just how our guitarist would kind of write. He would, I call it like a riff salad or a riff sandwich. Like he would just have a bunch of ideas that he would keep, at home. And then when it came time to jam or came time to put pen to paper or start recording stuff, that's when he would bring his ideas out. And then, it'd always be up to me and our drummer, Cody, to kind of put our heads together and make it sound more like a complete song, give it more flair, so to speak.
And I know that EP, I did see a lot of distinguishing elements behind the EP and, Tortured Whole, but what I found unique is your music is incredibly brutal from start to finish. It pulls no punches, but, I also see some experimentation involved with, those 2 instrumental tracks involved and, kind of, going outside the box a little bit. So you almost feel that, every song, the making of every song plays by its own rules, or is there kind of, a formula that you stick with?
It's kind of a little bit of both. There's kind of stick to what there's kind of like a method to our madness a little bit where every song has to hit a certain key element that we have set on board for us. And then some of the stuff is just completely chaotic or out of left field, especially the 2 synth instrumental tracks, because we didn't record those until after we already sent out the album to the label, and the label actually came back to us and was like, it'd be cool if we added an interlude or just a little bit of a breather somewhere in the album, so your face just isn't getting pounded in for every song straight. So Cody, our drummer and engineer, he actually came up with those synth interludes together. They're kind of reminiscent of Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Oh, I love Grand Theft Auto.
Fuck yeah. Meets John Carpenter.
Yeah. When I first moved to New York City, I was kind of pretending I was Nico Bellic from Grand Theft Auto.
That's what's up.
I'm just. You actually look a little bit like Packy. Maybe we could do a Grand Theft Auto 4 parody.
I'd be down, man.
Yeah.
Do a live action role play.
Yeah. But I would say Century Media made a good call with that. And, Century Media, signing your peers in Frozen Soul, but also having, Aborted and Lorna Shore and so many other aggressive and brutal bands. Yeah. It almost seemed like it was a no-brainer to work with Century Media, right?
Absolutely, man. They're one of the first labels that I definitely grew to love right away. Their roster has been sick. It's still sick. They still have Napalm Death, Skeletal Remains, and Broken Hope is still on that label too, who I love dearly. So it's cool to be a part of the family, and they don't just hold on to a bunch of death metal bands, but they also have Kansas on the label as well, which is weird to me.
Lacuna Coil.
Right, Lacuna Coil. So it's cool to be on a major label, and still the people that work there, a lot of them are ex-musicians, or they're people that were around in the DIY tape trading scene and stuff like that too. So it's cool to be a little bit more corporate, but still have that DIY feel.
Yeah, It's like Fight Club in a way, you know?
Yeah, right.
Yep. Now, as a vocalist, have you always needed to hear the music to come up with lyrics, or could a lyrical concept or a lyrical idea maybe like influence the direction of the structure of the song?
So yeah, typically what I do is I almost do like a freestyle type thing where I'll hear the music, I'll come up with a flow and a pattern, and I'll just go right off the top of my head with it. A lot of other times too is like I find myself mostly inspired to write when I'm completely isolated. So weird enough, when I'm taking a shit or I'm showering or I'm in the shower or I'm just in my bed and the carnival's going on and I can't make my mind stop, that's when I'll usually grab a pad and pen and start to writing. Or what I'll do is I'll play the music. I'll play like our demos that we have with no vocals or anything on it, and I'll watch a horror movie with the sound off. Oh, wow. And I'll just write to what I see or what I think, or try to formulate like a storyline to talk about something.
That's incredible and a really interesting methodology, and it almost seems like you take inspiration both internally and externally and from multiple sources, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the stuff I'll make up right off the bat, and some of the stuff I'll take inspiration from what I see or what I read a lot.
Which is incredible. Can you maybe see Sanguisugabogg doing kind of like a concept album route in a way, or like do you kind of want every song to have like its own individual meaning and maybe kind of leave it more open to interpretation?
Yeah, I mean, I never look at it as like meaning, as more as just like what kind of gross stuff can I just say or talk about, because I don't take it too necessarily that seriously. But as far as like concepts, like I think that literature that I read and movies that I see that I write music about, I could see that taking on its own thing. But all in all, I just want to make sure every song is gross and hits some kind of point.
Yeah. And isolation being the great fuel for creativity as
That's
well,
right.
right? And you kind of avoid that pitfall of having the best lyrics and then being one syllable over or under like every arrangement or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Now, obviously this is the debut of full-length album, and I was just talking with the folks in Frozen Soul about this, but do you think that this is a good representation of the direction of Sanguisugabogg from here on out, or do you maybe want to like experiment a little bit more in the future? Obviously I'm not expecting butt rock ballads anytime soon.
Right. I'd say with our sound now is we're expanding on the ground that we've already covered, plus putting more so of our hearts and everything in. You know what's crazy to think about is like our EP that kind of took us off. The way we look at it is like that was all created kind of by accident. You know, it was all recorded and mixed and mastered within like 8 hours. And I literally, I remember sitting on my knees. This is the second day I ever met Cody. And I was writing the lyrics like on his drum throne to the songs that we used on that EP. So I think what we're doing now is our heads are a lot more tighter together. We all like the same music. We all like different kinds of music too. So I say we're going to expand on the ground that we've covered, plus pour way more of our heart into this next album. I think what we got cooking up now is going to set the tone for the rest of our career.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And I have 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
But when it comes to your live presence, this is going to be my first time popping the Sanguisugabogg cherry tonight. And
yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Nile tour as well.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yep, it's already marked on my calendar. But is there maybe a similar energy that you put into your live presence as you do when you are songwriting? Is there anything that kind of ties the two together? Or do you almost feel like they're 2 completely separate ball games altogether?
I look at it all in the same. I look at being a vocalist and being a front man, it's kind of like the act of making love. Like you learn how to do it from watching other people do it. So I owe probably a big portion of my paycheck to George Fisher from Cannibal Corpse and Frank Mullen of Suffocation. I rip them off all the time, relentlessly, and then try to do my own spin on it as well. But my background before music was stand-up comedy, so it was always easy to kind of like break the awkwardness like in front of a crowd and get people engaged and people like thrilled on something.
Wow.
And it's really not until we're about to go play a show like I'll try to sneak in my banter and stuff in between songs. And then a lot of the stuff like when we're moving and stuff, none of that's like choreographed. It's just off the top of our head. It's what we feel when we hear a certain thing in our music.
Mm-hmm. Do you almost portray yourself similarly as a metal frontman as you did with stand-up comedy in a way?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that was like my whole bit was basically being a weird metal guy that makes dick and fart jokes all the time. So,
oh man,
yeah, some things never change.
You might not make it to the show tonight because I'm gonna want to hear some material.
Oh
After
hell
this,
yeah! I got plenty. I'll share with you.
Oh hell yeah, and I'll return the favor as well.
Fucking A.
Yeah, I only tried stand-up comedy once, but I was just broken up with, so like it was like one of those like
for sure.
post-breakup moment things.
Get
so.
something out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Typical post-breakup experiment. You become a stand-up comedian.
Oh, for sure.
Yep. I think every famous comedian owes a debt of gratitude to all their exes.
Yeah. I kind of wrote a whole special about an ex, so yeah, there we go.
Maybe
absolutely right.
Future.
You figured it out.
And correct me if I'm wrong. But for the final question, you guys originated from Columbus, Ohio, right? That's where the band like originated from.
Yep.
So I actually was in Columbus for Sonic Temple Festival in 2019, and I was exploring the city a lot. It seems like there's some great bands that originated out of not just Columbus, but like just Ohio in general.
Oh, for sure.
The rise of bands like Ringworm. You have great metalcore bands like Devil Wears Prada.
Yep.
Of course, got to give it up to 9 Inch Nails as well.
Absolutely.
But like, has there been kind of like a death metal scene in Columbus that you've all been affiliated with, or was your goal for Sanguisugabogg to always go outside your state lines to spread the name out there?
So Ohio has had a rich death metal scene since the beginning. Before there was Maryland Death Fest, there was Ohio Death Fest, and it was ran by Brian Baxter of Bladed Records. He would put on these festivals with 30 to 40 to 50 bands, and it would just draw tons of crowds. Bands like Disgorge, Cryptopsy, Mortician, Deeds of Flesh, they were regularly playing it all the time. And that was all in Cleveland. And Cleveland has like a really big underground death metal scene. There's Embalmer. There's some of the bands that have gotten like more of a spotlight, like Ringworm, Integrity, bands like that. And then in Southwest Ohio, like Cincinnati, there's a lot of like black metal, speed metal, death thrash, blackened thrash. I like to call it motorcycle metal because they all wear leather. The Columbus scene, as far as death metal, it didn't really start taking off until maybe about 2-3 years ago. And then once we started playing music, a lot younger people and a lot people that were coming out of like band retirement was just like, hell with it. Let's start making bands and stuff again. So now I would say Ohio's got a bigger scene now than ever, but it's always been really big and really true to the underground since 1990 when Embalmer was out. So
hell yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time and for such an awesome chat. Is there just anything else with Sanguisugabogg that you would like to promote? We have Tortured Whole out now, but obviously we sing a lot more of you. You got the Nile tour. Just anything else you'd like to plug that I could have missed? Yeah,
we got Nile and Incantation. We're going to be touring with them February 3rd to March 11th, full U.S. We're also going to keep hard at work and try to put out more content. We got 3 brand new songs that we're playing on this tour. We're going to be writing a bunch of new shit and hopefully having a new album recorded next year.
Hell yeah.
So be on the lookout for that.
Well, thank you so much, Devin. I really appreciate it. Everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, everybody. Devin of Sanguisugabogg. Check out Tortured Whole, out now on Century Media. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York.